Hi, I'm Amelia, and I'm a senior in equine management.
And I'm Cordelia, a senior in equine assisted activities and therapies. And welcome to our video all about how to tack and tack fit.
Now imagine you're wearing a belt. Your belt is on way too loose. How does that feel? What do you think could happen? Well, your pants are gonna fall.
Now imagine it's on way too tight. How would that feel? Would you have trouble doing anything? You might be really uncomfortable or even have trouble breathing.
Here's the thing, it applies to when we are tacking up our horses. Tack that is way too loose or way too tight can cause major issues.
Incorrect tack fit can lead to serious safety issues, so it's important to learn how to do it right every time. Before we can tack up our horse, we have to get down to basics. Here we have a prestige dressage saddle. Let's learn the parts of the saddle. Pommel, seat, cantle, panel, D-ring, knee roll, saddle flap, stirrup leather, stirrup iron. You will also need a saddle pad and girth. They come in many varieties, such as all-purpose saddle pad, gel pad, foam pad, regular girth, contour girth, dressage girth.
Now here are some of the basics of a bridle. Let's learn the parts of the bridle. Crown piece, brow band, cheek piece, throat latch, kevasin or noseband, bit, reins, Now that you know the different names of pieces of tack, it's time to tack up. Starting here with an all-purpose saddle pad, we're going to place it gently on the horse's back. Notice the keepers in front so you know which way the saddle pad goes. Once you determined which side is the front, you can gently place it on your horse's back.
And as you see here, this is the horse's wither, the bony part that sticks out of the horse's body. So you always want to make sure that you want to cover that so the saddle does not bump or run or anything onto the withers. And also, this little seam line right here, you also want to make sure that it is parallel to the horse's spine. Just like that.
For the next step, you may need to ask an adult to help you, as saddles can be very heavy. You want to make sure that the cantle is facing the back of the horse and that you don't slam your saddle down on your horse's back, as that could hurt them. You want to just place it on nice and gentle. Just like with the saddle pad, you want to be sure that the middle of the saddle is sitting directly over the middle of the horse's back and that it's not falling to one side or the other.
So, make sure you open the saddle flap, use your elbow and your forearm to just hold it and place it. And whenever you are putting on the saddle, you always want to make sure that you put it on the first and the third billet. You always want to make sure that you're putting it on very low holes. And then you do the same on the other side.
Now I want to determine the tightness of the girth. So what I want to do is put at least a finger or two in between the girth itself and the horse's heart girth. If I can fit more than 2 fingers, then it's too loose. But if I can barely fit a finger between the girth and the horse itself, then that is way too tight.
Bridling is also a very important step and can be a big clue of whether your horse is comfortable or not. Remember, the bit is in the horse's mouth, and they can feel it just like we would, so we want to make it as comfortable for them as possible. When we're bridling a horse, we typically leave our stall door slightly open for safety reasons. You would put the reins of the bridle over the horse's head while they still have their halter on, so that you can maintain control of them once you take the halter off. While holding your horse's head, you would remove the bridle from your shoulder and hold the nose piece and the crown piece in one hand, while holding the bit in the other hand, carefully placing your thumb in the bars of the horse's mouth where they have no teeth as a signal to open their mouth and accept the bit. Then you would place the crown piece over your horse's ears, making sure to fold them forwards if they need to be folded down. Then you would adjust the noseband to make sure that it was underneath the cheek pieces.
So, when it comes to the bit, you never want a smiley horse. You always want to make sure that you have at least one wrinkle. If it's too tight, notice how your horse's mouth is being pressed up and against and all that stuff. But if it's too loose, then your horse's mouth is going to be very comfortable. Look at that. So, you always want to make sure that it is tight enough for one wrinkle, only one.
When adjusting your noseband, you want to make sure that it's not too loose, but also not so tight that it's causing pain on the horse. You should be able to fit 2 fingers snugly in the noseband at the bottom under your horse's chin.
You want to make sure that you have 2 fingers to go right in here. Right there. 2 fingers, good. If it's too loose, like this, you have a lot of wiggle room. Too loose. If it's too tight, you can barely get a finger in, and that's a no-no. So you always want to make sure that you put it using your keepers. Two fingers.
You should also check that you can fit at least 2 fingers under the noseband on top on the bridge of your horse's nose to be sure that it's not pinching on your horse's bridge of their nose and causing them pain.
After the noseband, you want to make sure that you check the cheek piece. You want to make sure that, once again, 2 fingers can squeeze in right there. From the cheekbone, from the noseband, you want to make sure that you have 2 fingers.
Lastly, you tighten the throat latch. You want to fit about 4 fingers vertically between the throat latch and your horse. However, you want to be sure that your throat latch will not slide over your horse's jawbone. If it can do that, you should tighten it more. Then take your reins back over your horse's head and you're ready to ride. Once you've finished tacking your horse, the final steps are to grab a helmet that fits and a trusted adult supervisor such as your trainer, and you're ready to ride. Congratulations!